Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, distinguished guests, and folks of all stripes, put your hands together for the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Houston, we have Paul Salazar Jr.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast, your Houston Astros podcast for diehard Astros fans from a diehard Astros fan. I'm Paul Salazar Jr., your favorite diehard Astros fan and podcaster. I am a writer. I am a comedian. I am searching for a new multi-hyphenate here out in Los Angeles. I have been an entertainment professional for quite some time now, and now I have a podcast. This is the aforementioned podcast. I'm a Houston native, and I have the receipts to prove it. And by the receipts to prove it, I mean all of the receipts from Shipley's over the years. I have probably... that ad in Minute Maid Field for Shipley's Donuts, I probably paid for that ad. This is the Space Cadet Sports Podcast that was born out of the Substack, my Substack, I should say, the Space Cadet Sports blog. This is what my brother calls the Paul Broad Pod Ball blog. A little Arrested Development nod there for you. I started the Space Cadet Sports blog and podcast with a new and refreshing perspective of actually liking the Astros and being a fan of them. The media is always negative or doom and gloom about them, or honestly, kind of like Chandler Rome, where they cover the Astros, but they're not exactly a fan of them, so the attention tends to be negative. Or it's like Fansided, the blog that anything they push out about Astros is very negative about them. Even like today, it was like, how Astros fans were wrong about Joe Espada. And I agree, they were wrong about Joe Espada. But why you gotta be so salty? So this is trying to be a little less salty about your Astros coverage. It's your home for Houston Astros fans coverage. Let all the H-Town hustlers know that we are out there. Welcome to the podcast, folks. We're recording here from sunny Los Angeles. Just yesterday, we had a special hour-long podcast. Go check that out. Our off-day goof-off podcast. It's one of my favorite things to do. I kind of get into the groove here podcasting. I definitely like it when it's a little lighter, a little sillier. The off-day podcasts tend to have that kind of vibe because honestly, I watch every game. I read every article. I love watching every game. But, life is crazy sometimes. So having to watch a baseball game every day takes up a lot of time. Even with the pitch clock. Even with Rob Manfred trying to make these games shorter, it is a little taxing to watch a baseball game every day. Imagine how taxing it is to actually play it, Paul. But that being said, the off-day podcasts tend to be a little bit lighter, a little goofier, just because I have a little bit more time to prep for it, or I don't prep for it and just goof off all day. Either way, go check out that podcast that we did yesterday. I mentioned the Substack. There's an article I wrote about Josh Hader and all of the hate and the frustration Astros fans have had for him this season. Go check that out on the Substack as well. That's spacecadetsports.substack.com. Here in studio, it's a good day today. I am joined, as always, by my co-host and co-producer, the Roz to my Frasier. Carla the dog is here with me. She may get on mic from time to time. Just a heads up, she does have the hot takes on this podcast, seeing that I have the mild and logical ones. She's the hothead of the two. Let's get to this podcast today. Today, I'm basically getting ahead. We are previewing very quickly the Houston Astros White Sox series that starts today at the Juice Box. We're going to talk a little bit about some Astros news, some roster movements, and we're going to briefly talk about a little bit of a rule change that has been floated out there that's getting a little bit of news and some momentum in this little shorty podcast. It isn't going to be exactly the same as yesterday's podcast. But yeah, essentially I'm getting ahead of it, folks. I will be out of town this weekend, so I am taking a little bit of time off here. You will have plenty of content to go through soon. So we're getting a little podcast out to let you know we won't have daily content this weekend, but you will have stuff to wrap up the Chicago White Sox series, or minimally something to preview the Red Sox series. Either way, you'll have some Sox content coming up in regards to your Astros here, folks. But let's kind of get to it. The kind of biggest thing here, I did preview the White Sox games in the previous podcast. But just briefly, I'm gonna go ahead and to preview the series. We're gonna go ahead and start this podcast letting you know the pitching matchups for this series. Obviously, the Houston Astros are coming into this series 6-5. 6-5. I'm trying to give you their record, and I'm reading it poorly. Their record, they're 65 wins to 55 losses with a 54 win percentage, and that's good enough for first place in the AL West so far this season. The Seattle Mariners are now 3 games back from the Houston Astros in the AL West race, and the Texas Rangers are 10 games back in the AL West. Fangraphs pretty much has the Texas Rangers chances at the playoffs pretty much slim to none. So Rangers fans that were very, very talkative and very chatty at the beginning of this season have all of a sudden gone quiet. They're talking about how hard it is to repeat and how this team is not going to maybe next year. So you love to see it. You love to see people that that think they could be the Houston Astros fail to do that. The Texas Rangers are 3-7 in the last 10 games. However, the Mariners, while it's nice to kind of enjoy the tears of Texas Rangers fans, the Mariners and the Mariners fans are more of what we're looking at right now in terms of the AL West race. There is still a little bit of time left in the season. I'm not saying the Rangers are completely out of it, but the writing's on the wall. It's going to be a tough hole for them to climb out of. So really, at this point, there is a chance that maybe the Rangers can find some fire, but it looks like a 2-horse race right now in the AL West. In the next week or so, I say that will definitely clear up, and we'll see what the Rangers are up to. But I have a feeling the season is done for. I have a feeling that when the Astros beat the Rangers for that Silver Boot title, a lot of Rangers fans are saying, it's a Silver Boot isn't that important. But it wasn't just the Silver Boot. The Astros winning that series gave them the edge over the Rangers and put their foot on the Rangers' neck and kind of just ended their season right there. They, like I said, there is a small potential that they could come back, but I have a feeling that was a defining series of the Rangers' season this year. So it's good to see the Astros have the edge over, not just over the interstate rivals, but over the Mariners right now. They're creating a little bit of distance, which is what they need. The Mariners are on a 3-game losing streak and are 4-6 in their last 10 games, while the Astros are on an 8-game winning streak and are 8-2 in their last 10 games, going in to play the Chicago White Sox, who are 29-93 on this season. I did not misread that. That is correct. The Chicago White Sox have lost 93 games so far this season. So, whenever you're complaining about the Astros' losses and you're complaining about the Astros, just remember that there are some franchises out there, that there are some fans out there that are fans of a team that have lost that many games. So baseball's a tough sport. There's a lot of emotion in it. There's a lot of winning. There's a lot of losing. But the Houston Astros have been in a golden era, and they've given you a lot of winning as of late. So I know it's been a little bit of a seesaw season, a little bit of a tough season, but this is a good team. So let's just be grateful for them here. I think that this is a great setup for the Houston Astros, having the Chicago White Sox come into town at this juncture. The Astros are 8-2, obviously, in their last 10 games. They're on an 8-game winning streak. They swept their last 2 series that they have played and they just got an off day yesterday, and they're coming up against a team that is going to lose a lot of games this season, and you're hoping that the Astros can dominate this team and get another sweep. Because when we're looking ahead, the Astros have a huge stretch of games with no games off until September 3rd, starting today. They're starting off playing against the White Sox at home. Then they're going to get the Boston Red Sox at home and immediately go into a road trip that's going to be 4 games in Baltimore playing the Orioles, who the Astros actually swept earlier this season. However, a 4-game series in Baltimore against a hot team is really going to present a challenge for the Houston Astros. This is going to truly feel like a playoff atmosphere, I feel. I think it's going to be a great test for the Astros. And then after that test of the Baltimore Orioles, 4 games in Baltimore after 6 games at home, is immediately into 3 games in Philadelphia against the Phillies. And immediately after the 3-game set against the Phillies in Philadelphia, the Astros come back home for a 4-game series against the Kansas City Royals. So that's going to be a grind for the Houston Astros. That's a really tough stretch of games. And then for some odd reason, after the 4-game road trip, a 4-game homestand with Kansas City, they go to Cincinnati September 2nd, the very next day after they close out the Royals series. They start a 3-game series in Cincinnati that has a game off in the middle. So September 3rd, they have a day off, and then they finish up the road trip in Cincinnati for those 3 games, and they come back home for another homestand. So a little bit of an odd schedule, lots of traveling. You're going from Houston to Baltimore to Philly to Houston to Cincinnati. It's going to be a tough stretch for them. They're playing against great talent with the Red Sox, the Orioles, the Phillies, and the Royals. And then you have, obviously the Cincinnati Reds that after that who maybe not in the same class of team as of this season, but still going to present a challenge for the Houston Astros. Even the White Sox, the White Sox beat the Yankees by 10 just recently. You don't sleep on these major league teams because they are here to play. They could lose 93 games in a season, but they could still sweep a team if they have the right momentum. So you're grateful that the Astros have a stand against the White Sox here to kind of keep that momentum rolling, because right now truly the Astros are going to need a lot of momentum because they need to win these series still against Boston, against Baltimore, and against Philadelphia, and obviously that against Cincinnati as well. They need to win every series the rest of the season. It's something that I have been saying. However, this stretch presents a real challenge for the Houston Astros, and not just for them for their consistency as a team, but we're looking at their consistency as an offense. If they can maintain that slugging, if like I was saying in the previous podcast, the top of the order, they have to get some hits, they have to get on base. The middle of the order, obviously, they got to get some slugging going, and the bottom of the order, if the Astros have slugging and power going and generating offense in the first part of the lineup, the bottom third of the lineup, they can still. They've been struggling a little bit. They can afford those struggles in the bottom of the lineup if they still have power coming through the middle and the top of the lineup that generates those runs. Obviously, we need to find some hitters at the bottom of the lineup to find some consistency. But if the Astros are generating power, that makes it easier to carry the bottom of the lineup. That's how you can carry a guy like Martin Maldonado during the Astros' golden era. A lot of people, just really quick side note, I think it's really funny. Just even yesterday, when the Astros are going on this 8-game winning streak, there are podcasts out there that are slamming Dusty Baker and Martin Maldonado for last season, as if they, they're still blaming Martin Maldonado for last year. I don't know if you guys remember last season, but honestly, it wasn't that bad. And I know that when you see Yainer Diaz play this well, when you see him generate this much offense, you're like, we could have had Yainer start all of last season. Yeah, but then he could have just struggled like he did in the middle of this season. It's not exactly it's it just because he had a good season this year doesn't mean that he would have had the same season last season. Martin Maldonado is a game manager. You want that catcher in there because he manages the pitchers well. The Astros weren't ready to give Martin Maldonado's spot up just because they needed more offense. They were hopeful that the Astros can generate offense to cover Martin Maldonado's offensive woes up. That's generally what you do in baseball with a defensive-minded catcher. A lot of successful teams have done that over the history of the game. It's something that honestly successful teams do and successful baseball organizations do because you want a game manager. You need a defensive specialist sometimes on your team. You just make sure you have enough offense to carry it. I don't understand why people still don't get that. They just want to have their cake and eat it too, and they need something to talk about on their podcast, I guess. But I'm just saying, you can't have these players that go through struggles during the regular season. Now, obviously, as we're getting towards the end of the season, we need to find some players that can that can have some consistency in the bottom of that lineup if we want to have a deep playoff run. That's why you might see Zach DeZenzo, in the corner outfield during this White Sox series. He's been taking reps in the outfield. His win probability added for the Tampa Bay Rays series was very low. He had those defensive errors at first base. It looks like perhaps first base is not the most natural position for Zach DeZenzo, at least at this point of his career. So they're looking to get his offense going, perhaps by giving him a position that he could field better defensively, even if it's a little newer like corner outfield. He's not going to be playing third base or shortstop, which is his more natural position, because obviously Jeremy Pena and Alex Bregman are hitting amazingly right now, and we don't want to sub them out for DeZenzo. So DeZenzo might be getting some corner outfield play going into this White Sox series. But we'll put a quick pin in that real quick. I said that I was going to tell you the pitchers for the White Sox series. I'll tell you that. Then we'll get into some roster movement, potential roster movement for the White Sox series. Today, it's spaghetti time at Minute Maid Park, folks. Spencer Arrighetti is here for Space City, or I think it's Mondays actually. But yeah, no, Spencer Arrighetti's pitching in the juice box. He is improving his stats this season. Is 5-10 with a 5.14 ERA. Obviously, watching those strikeouts climb up. Spencer Arrighetti, the baseball nerd we know and love, is out there striking folks out. We're hoping that he can make easy work of this White Sox lineup and carry the team to victory with another double-digit strikeout performance. He will be facing off against Garrett Crochet, who is 6-9 on the season, which seems very low. But when you think about the fact that the White Sox have won just a handful of games, he's getting them the majority of their wins. He's a 3.65 ERA with 167 strikeouts over 120 and 2/3 of an inning, with a 1.07 WHIP. So he's having a really good season. Obviously, the left-hander that was generating a lot of noise during the trade deadline, but didn't want to go to a new team unless he got a new contract. That kind of hampered his sellability at the trade deadline. So he's still with the White Sox, but he's probably going to get a huge payday against when he comes out in free agency. The little secret though with Crochet is his last 7 games have not been that great. He's 0-3 in his last 7 games with a 5.81 ERA. That's in 7 games started, 26 innings pitched. He's given up 30 hits, 17 earned runs, with 10 walks and 37 strikeouts with a 1.52 WHIP. So we're hoping that those numbers that are trending in the wrong direction are something that the Astros can capitalize off of and really get some offense going against Crochet in this game. In the second game, the Astros are sending up Hunter Brown, who has been just a revelation lately. He's 10-7 with a 3.96 ERA and 139 strikeouts. I think if you would have watched Hunter Brown earlier this season in April and a little bit in May, you would be like, I don't know if his numbers can get there. But he has really turned the season around. Good to see Hunter Brown having a great year. You love to see Diesel be successful. He will be facing off against Chris Flexen, the 30-year-old right-hander that we've seen with the Seattle Mariners in the past, who has not always been the best of pitchers, but is able to go out there and just eat some innings up. Not a traditional inning eater for sure, but he kind of is just kind of a I'm not trying to be cruel. He's out there and he can get the job done, but a lot of times he can find some struggles. But he's 2-11 on the season, really having a rough one with a 5.34 ERA and 118 innings pitched. Very low strikeout number of 84 with a 1.5 WHIP, which is those numbers aren't exactly where you want them to be. His ERA has been trending up lately, so we're hoping that these two pitchers with Crochet and Flexen are trending the wrong way, and the Astros have some pitchers that are trending the right way, and we can get the job done in those games. In the third game of the series, lost my place here. The Astros will be sending up Framber Valdez, our ace right now for all intents and purposes, who's 12-5 with a 3.38 ERA and 122 strikeouts on the season. Framber has been doing great. The Framber-Yainer Diaz games have been fantastic, so we're hoping to get another one of those. And he will be facing off against a young young left-hander, 24-year-old left-hander, Kai Bush. He's 6'6", 250, got a big frame there for this young man. He's not pitched very frequently. He was a Los Angeles Angels second-round draft pick in 2021. This young man is only pitched 2 games in the majors this season, and his whole season, I should say. He's 0-1 with a 5.19 ERA, with a 8 2/3 inning pitched, 5 strikeouts, 2.31 WHIP. I mentioned in the previous podcast, he was a selection for a Futures game. So I believe in 2022. So Kai Bush doesn't have a lot of a resume. We'll see what the Astros are able to do against him. Sometimes they don't always do the best against unknown pitchers or unheralded pitchers. We're hoping that they can put the hurt on the young pitcher, the young southpaw, but we do not know what to expect. And yeah, for the Astros offense, obviously we're talking about Zach DeCinzo, and we're talking about the bottom of the lineup. A lot of the normal guys, they've been rolling. Altuve, Jordan Breggy, Yainer and Jeremy Pena. The top of the lineup there has really been doing good. When we get to the middle, we start to find some holes. We start to find some trouble. Seeing Yainer Diaz get a start at first base is good. I do think that will help us at times. Having Yainer at first and Caratini catch, it does put Espada in a tough situation in terms of needing a catcher if some injury or something goes wrong. Without Cesar Salazar was great when he is up here with the team, but they have not wanted to bring up a third catcher lately. So it doesn't seem like Yainer Diaz at first base is going to be a long-term solution, but maybe every now and then it could be an option for Joe Espada to get some offense generated from this team. I also think seeing a little bit more John Singleton is necessary. We do have 2 left-handed starters coming up, but I do think getting Singleton in there a little more, rotating him back in, is going to be needed. Zach DeCinzo doesn't look like he's going to be a good defensive fit at first. It doesn't seem like Yainer Diaz is going to be, like I said, without a third catcher. They probably won't use him that much. We will see. But part of what we will see for that is Shay Whitcomb. Shay Whitcomb is coming up to join the team, folks. Shay Whitcomb, we don't have a roster move announced quite yet. But Shay Whitcomb is he's a right-handed batter, shortstop / infielder. He's 6 feet tall, 202 and 25 years old. He's from UC San Diego, and his minor league stats this season, he's batting .293 with 25 home runs and 91 RBIs, 26 stolen bases with a .908 OPS. So Shay Whitcomb has really been on fire as of late. They're going to bring him up to see what offense that he can generate for the Houston Astros. There has not been a corresponding roster move announced with Whitcomb. We don't know if DeZenzo's going down. We don't know if Aledmus Diaz perhaps. We will see. I doubt it be a pitcher, but we'll see who is being sent down for Shay Whitcomb. Maybe it's Pedro Leon. That might be tough because, like I said, they're looking for some offense from corner outfield. But maybe with Zach DeZenzo being able to, they feel confident he could play the corner outfield. So Leon's going to go back down to kind of find his swing again. We shall see, folks. We really don't know what to expect with that corresponding roster move. But you can let me know what you think, what you think that corresponding roster move will be. If it's going to be Leon, if you think it's going to be Diaz. I don't think it's going to be Aledmus Diaz. He's a veteran roster addition that's just for the most part going to be a guy chewing bubblegum and talking to his buddies on the bench. I don't think he's here to really contribute a lot to the offense. I think he's here as a defensive substitute and a safety net for Mauricio Dubon. But, we shall see. I've been wrong about plenty of things. And before we wrap up this podcast today, let's go ahead and talk about some potential rule changes that have been out there. There is essentially a new rule change that has been floated by like Max Scherzer and veteran pitchers kind of in the media. And this is a thing that essentially that your starting pitcher has to go 6 innings or else you face a penalty. There hasn't been a lot of clarity as to what the full proposal is, but the premise of this idea is that your starting pitcher has to go 6 innings, and you're probably saying, well, that sounds like you're going to get a lot of pitching injuries. You might, but the thing is you have other options for going 6 innings. Your pitcher has to go 6 innings, or they give up. If they throw more than 100 pitches, they can be pulled from the game, or if they give up more than four runs or more, they can be pulled from the game, or if they get injured, obviously. There should not be a situation where you just have to keep pitching an injured pitcher. So those would be the rules. They have to go 6 innings, or 100 pitches, or 4 runs or more, and then they could be lifted from the game. If your pitcher gets lifted from the game earlier than that, you face a penalty. I believe it's just going to be something as simple as losing the DH. I don't think it's going to be more severe than that. But that is a potential rule change that they are floating out there for Major League Baseball. As we get more information about it, as we see what players are saying about it, we'll talk about it more. But I just wanted to briefly mention it and put it out there for you guys. What do you think of that pitching rule change? Do you think it's going to help the league? Do you think it's going to help make pitchers the star of the game again? They're saying they're trying to make starting pitchers a star of the game again. So let me know what you think about that rule change. And you can let me know what you think about that on social media. But before I get into all that, give you my handle. Let's go ahead and wrap up this podcast for today. Thank you so much for listening to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. We do very much appreciate you out there. Please give us a like, smash that like button, hit subscribe, hit share, hit rate and review. Give us a 5-star rating out there, folks. Share us with other diehard Astros fans that need to hear a little bit of the good news, folks. Share the good news out there with your fellow fans. Please, like I said, if you want to tell me what you think of these pitching rule changes, or you have your own opinions, you want to let me know what you think of the podcast, what do you want to hear a little more of, what do you have some questions on, hit me up on social media. You can find me at Paul Salazar Jr. on all social media platforms, or at least all the cool ones. And if you'd be so kind, go check out the Substack. I really would appreciate it. We have all posts, all of the meme dumps, all of the podcasts and video podcasts up there on the Substack for free. Check it out at spacecadetsports.substack.com. Put your email in that field and get every post, every meme dump, and every podcast emailed directly to you for free. Or if you're like me and you like the app experience, you're more of a phone guy, you're an iPad guy, download the Substack app, search Space Cadet Sports, and subscribe from there. click a link that you like notifications. Click that little box. You say you like notifications over emails. You don't get emails anymore. All you get is notifications on your phone for when I have a post, meme dump, or podcast, and you get it all there just the same for free, just for downloading that app and selecting me. And on top of it, there's other people you can read on Substack. It's not just me, so go give that a check. spacecadetsports.substack.com. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast, folks. We appreciate it. Share it with everybody out there in Houston. Let them know that I exist. Let them know we're talking Astros baseball over here. As always, folks, keep your head up, son, and vamos Astros.